Hello, everyone. Hi, Michael Rubenfeld here. How are you? I am in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. I've been here for 3 weeks now, but it feels like I've been here for 3 months or 3 years, even. For those who don't know, I'm working on a play called The Lehman Trilogy. The Lehman Trilogy is about the Lehman Brothers. If that name sounds familiar, it's because the Lehman Brothers was a bank that went under. That went under in 2008, quite infamously. It was also the beginning of the crisis in America, not only America, but because of the all the mortgages, all the defaulting on the mortgages, and everyone knows about what happened in 2008, but not everyone knows. Probably most people don't know anything about the Lehman Brothers, the origins of the Lehman Brothers, and how the Lehman Brothers became the Lehman Brothers. And the play, which was weirdly written by an Italian. It was originally written in Italian, an Italian man, non-Jew, and then it was adapted by a Brit who is non-Jewish. Yet it's about these three Jewish brothers from Germany, and the rise and fall of their bank, and capitalism in America. Super interesting that America and what happened in America was so globally important that this Italian guy wrote a play. He actually wrote a book that was turned into a play, but he wrote the book as if it was a play. Anyways, so yeah, it was a successful show in Italy like 8 years ago, but then it was adapted for the National Theater for three actors, and that is the show that has become the real success, because that show has been done in the National Theater, the West End in London, on Broadway. It won a Best New Play Award, I believe, in 2022 or 2018. When? 2022, 21? Anyways. And yeah, and now it's a play that's being done basically all over the English language world, or certainly all over America, and now Canada. A lot of major theaters are doing it in Canada. And at first, I wasn't entirely sure that I understood why it was as successful as it is. But I've been working on it now for 3 weeks. I played the character of Henry Lehman, although all actors play many, many different roles. But yeah, working on this play for 3 weeks has been, well, first of all, it's been a huge acting challenge. Anyone who's familiar with this play knows that it's 3 hours, 3 acts. Each act is an hour long, two intermissions, and all three actors are on stage the entire time. And there's so many lines to learn, and our show feels particularly physical, so kind of like running around a lot. And doing it will be, I think, quite fun. At the moment, it feels a bit of a slog, but I think that once we are doing it in front of a stage, we're doing it in this like 800-seat theater in Calgary, the Max Bell Center. Beautiful space, really beautiful theater. Uh, and I think the show's going to be pretty. I think the show's going to be pretty, exciting to watch. Far more exciting and entertaining than I expected just reading the play. Um, I'm working with two great actors, Alex Posh Golden and Diane Flax. Um, they're pretty known Canadian theater actors, But if you're in Poland, you wouldn't know them. Or if you're not in the theater, you wouldn't know who they are necessarily. And the director is Sarah Garden Stanley, who is also wonderful. Um, and I've now been talking a lot about this play, but I think what I really want to talk about, or what I want to touch on, anyways, and I've been touching on it, periodically in other videos as well. But for me, what this play, well, first of all, this play is about these three brothers who came from Germany, the old world. They got on boats to the new world with dreams. Uh, they created their dreams in America, and that dream ultimately turned into what is arguably the nightmare of what happened in 2008. And it's not that, the nightmare is bound to happen or was always bound. It wasn't like it was fated into being. When I say fated, I mean like basically the destruction of this bank. But it certainly does look at how capitalism and the insatiable need to grow for more money, for more growth, for more, ownership, to be the biggest and the best, and that, which is, in a lot of ways, the promise of America, is arguably the downfall of Americans at the same time. And there's the gap between the very rich and the very poor, with far more people being very poor in America than being very rich. And that kind of success, that kind of Elon Musk level of success, for there to be the number of people who do have that level of success, it means, it's often at the expense of many people who don't have that amount of success, who can't have that amount of success. And I think that, what has happened here in North America, or what I'm really understanding has happened here in North America. It's not only North America, but certainly like in America, and what this play is trying to look at is that there has been these very conscious evolutions towards the quote unquote betterment of society, but that betterment, or that betterment really, is just about like the commodification of absolutely everything. And I think that, is something that I feel very intensely here. That, there's just a level of commodification that is exhausting and kind of depressing at times. Um, and there's this thing that happens to a lot of North Americans where they talk about feeling depressed when they come back from their trips to Europe. And this is pretty common. I've heard this, I'm depressed, come back from a bit of Europe. And people kind of talk about it, or they joke about it. And in Canada, North America, going to Europe is this very, uh, you know, luxurious, exotic thing to be able to do. Like, woo, going to Europe, oh, it's so European, yada, yada, yada. This notion of like European has this real particular flavor. And, at first I thought, oh, that just means, Italy or France. But living in Poland, and even in like major cities in Poland, certainly where I live in Krakow, it's very European feeling. It's ornate, it's beautiful, and it's got a kind of system of values that people seem to subscribe to, and it's also like connected to the fact that people in Poland are Polish. And I think that that depression that people are talking about, that the depression that people feel, is that I do get the sense. I mean, I don't know all of Europe, but I do know. I've gotten to know Poland pretty well. That there's this sense that like people work to live, but I feel like there's a lot more living to work here. I don't think that people necessarily like working here, but I think that people really work hard. I think people work too hard. And I think that there is this like obsession with making money because that is the number one system of values here. Making money is, for a lot of people, how people kind of perceive what life should be about. And of course, that's not exclusive to North America, but I feel overwhelmed by it here. Wow, I'm not as overwhelmed by it in Poland. Uh, and there's a real push in Poland. I can feel that kind of push towards more Western values. Uh, and while I am, I'm a believer in secularism. I don't think that religion should dominate a society the way that it does in Poland. And I think that that, to me, is complicated. I don't like it. But I do like that, like family is very important, and holidays are very important, and you know there are things that feel important that I I just don't have those similar feelings here. Of course, I know a lot of artists, and so making art is very important. But even like art is more important. Culture is more important, and I get this feeling that it's more important because like Polishness is a culture. It's a culture. Now, people will argue about what that means, right? They'll argue. But even, you know, the Polish language is a part of Polish culture. The English language is not Canadian culture. It's, we all speak English because the UK, which is English culture, colonized this part of the world, and we have this language, but it's not even ours. Whoever we are. Whereas in Poland, even the fact that there's this Polish language and there's this pride in Polish culture, there's this pride in Polishness. Again, I'm not talking about Catholicism, I'm talking about Polishness. And we could, debate for a long time what that might mean, probably over vodka, which is arguably connected to Polishness. I'm sure there are Russians and Ukrainians who would disagree. But, there's still this culture, and I don't feel that here. I don't feel that here. I don't, and I think that most people are like, what is Canada? What is Canadian culture? Now, what I love about Canada is how inclusive it is. I do love how inclusive it is. I like that there are many different cultures here, many different people here. And I think that, for first generations who move here, there are these attempts, these efforts put into maintaining their cultures, those cultures that are part of the country that they left to be a part of. But then, for subsequent generations, who don't have their country, whether it's the Philippines or Ukraine, Poland, Germany, wherever, Jamaica. They don't have those countries as their glue anymore, and so they become first, second, third generation immigrants in a country of other immigrants, and there's no glue. There's not like a thing. There's not a thing for people to go, we are Canadian. This is Canada. And I can just feel it. I can feel it here. There's a kind of, like, even in the way people talk, there's like, everyone talks with a kind of effort to ensure that nothing that they say could potentially upset someone else. This is a generalization, of course, but there's just like a lot of energy being put on talking like this, and like a lot of people, the tone in their voice goes up because up is, it's a very inoffensive. If you talk down, then it sounds too judgmental. But when people talk upwards, it's kind of like everything sort of sits in the world of a question. Like, I have an opinion, but maybe I do. Maybe it's not my opinion, or maybe it is my opinion. I don't know. What do you think? I'm not going to give too definitive an opinion because I don't want to insult you. So do you see what I'm doing there? So uh, I'm not saying this as a judgment. It's just like fascinating. It's just a fascinating thing, and I wish other people to have the experience of getting to spend time in two different countries and more, if possible. If you're young and you're watching this, go live somewhere else. Live in other parts of the world. I just think it's really great. It's great to understand that there are many different ways to live. You can choose your own adventure. You can choose who you want to be. That the countries that we live in are systems, and those are systems that were created for very specific reasons or by very specific ways. Uh, and, we don't need to abide only by the systems that we live in. Of course, it's hard to be in contradiction to the overall system. It's hard. You have to work harder, but you can, right? You can do whatever you want. Because what we think are definitives in one part of the world, in another part of the world, they're not at all. They're in fact weird and confusing to other people, and vice versa. So be your own. We can be our own peoples if we so choose. And yeah, I've been really appreciating having the experience of being back here and just thinking about that, and it makes me really wonder, like, what I'm going to bring back to Poland from this trip. Anyways, love you, and hope you have a great week.